Welcome to the Porn Reboot podcast, where you get practical tips to gaining control over your porn or sex addiction. We help ambitious men end their out-of-control sexual behavior with pornography, sex, and masturbation so that you can maximize your life, perform at your potential, and remain in control in the driver's seat, which is where you have to be in order to gain or maintain the success you want in life. I'm your host, J.K. Emezi, certified sex and porn addiction recovery coach. Welcome to the episode. How do you quit a job? This was the question I posed to the brothers in our intensive coaching program during last Wednesday's intimate meeting. Some of the responses they gave were, well, you turn in your 2 weeks notice. Some said, you just quit. Others said, you make sure you have something else lined up. The reason why I brought that up was because we have this very interesting ability as human beings to complicate the most simple of things. See, your behavior with pornography has been viewed as this insurmountable issue, an addiction, something with such a powerful urge, something that you are uncertain that you could live without in the future, something you have a deep history with, something which provides you with a reward which you do not think that you could get from somewhere else. But let's compare that with your job. And the moment we do, everything falls apart. Your job is likely something that you are committed to. It is also something that has provided you with a lot of value and benefits. It may have taken care of your kids' education. It may be the thing keeping a roof over your head, well, it probably is, ensuring your future, providing you with a sense of meaning and purpose. Some of you may have even met your spouse there. Some of you have friends there at your job. Chances are you've even spent more time at your job than you have viewing pornography. You have spent years there. It may keep you awake at night. You may even spend most of your life, when you look at all the years that have gone by and the years to come, at your job. Yet, we all somehow know clearly that there is a process to quit our jobs. But when asked about the process for ending our behavior with pornography, we fall apart. By falling apart, it means we think so hard about it. We are so confused about it. We are filled with self-doubt, and we are unable to quit this behavior that is debilitating to us. Isn't that interesting? Well, today I want to explore that. I explored that with the brothers in the intensive group last week, and I'll do it with you on the podcast today. And hopefully it will open your eyes, or maybe it will be the episode that gives you that perspective shift that is necessary for you to make 2025 the year where you let this go forever. Because in my professional experience, I found that a lot of men do not need years and years and years to end their behavior with pornography. A lot of times you just need the right perspective. That perspective could lead to an incredible transformative paradigm shift in your life, where it clicks for you for the first time. And all these tools, techniques, and approaches that you've been using suddenly work for you, but you never could quite see it the right way. It's kind of like money and wealth. I know this may not be relatable to many of you, but there might have been a time where you struggled a lot with money. There was a time when I struggled a lot financially, and I really thought that the only way to make money was to work minimum wage. I saw people making a lot of money. I remember being in my early 20s and seeing a guy pay rent for like $800 a month. And this was somebody who was my age. I looked at this guy thinking, my God, like $800, like that is amazing. That is so much money. I know. That's why I said some of you might not find this relatable, because I come from such deep poverty. I couldn't figure it out. And then over the years, there were a few perspective shifts. I came to realize that there's a whole world where people pay for services and pay for goods, and that there's a way that you can make money from these things if you provide a valuable good and service. And that valuable good and service, that exchange with other people, can lead to you making enough money to not only pay for rent,
but to actually save some money and even invest. But it just never clicked to me. At that stage where I was so busy with life that just seemed insurmountable. This is what it feels like to not know how to end your behavior with pornography. You're like that young kid who knows that there are many people walking around who don't have this problem, but you are living in poverty. And when I say poverty, I mean you are living in poverty of awareness. You are not aware of what it takes to be free of this, and thus the process seems overwhelming to you. Even though you might be established in your life, you might have a wife and kids, you might be making a lot of money, and you might be well respected in your community or your church or your social group. Today, we're going to break that down. Now, when it comes to quitting your job, when you quit your job, you don't need to resist going back to that job, do you? You don't say, oh my God, like I spent so many years at this job. I committed so much to it. Like, even though I have a new job, I still want to go back to this place. I still want to go back to the same coworkers, the boss who doesn't like me anymore, the pay that is not even enough. I still want to go back here. I still want to go back even though the regulations have changed, even though my wife is not happy with the hours I'm spending there, even though I am so bored and disillusioned with the work. You don't go back. You don't need to resist it. In fact, the only question that you have to ask yourself when you decide to quit something as important as your job is, do I want to do this? And secondly, how quickly is it going to take me to find something else? In fact, chances are you've already found something else. Let's apply that to your behavior with pornography. The first thing you must do in order to end your behavior with pornography permanently, as with quitting your job permanently, is you must figure out what it is that you want to do. Within the Porn Reboot system, there is an exercise called My Ideal Life After Rebooting, which is an exercise designed to, over a couple of weeks, sometimes months to be honest, lead you to a place of defining your reboot. Which means it isn't just about saying, I want to quit porn. It is about deciding what your life is going to look like without pornography. See, brother, if you are making the mistake of thinking that pornography is just something which needs to be stopped, and you are ignoring its pervasive impact on your life, its far-reaching impact on your life, then you are not going to end your behavior with pornography. When you say you're going to quit your job, you don't just walk away. You understand that your job impacts you emotionally, socially, mentally, financially. It impacts so many areas of your life. The same happens with pornography. The problem is you don't want to admit that pornography impacts you socially, emotionally, mentally, relationally, biologically, and yes, in many cases, even financially. You are unaware of it because society has conditioned you to see pornography as just jerking off, it's just porn, that's all it is. You do not understand the impact. The moment you understand the impact, you will treat it the same way as you do quitting a job. You will give it the same amount of focus. But the beautiful thing about doing that is just as you will not go back to your old job, when you have a new and better job, you will not go back to pornography. You must figure out what you want to do first. Therefore, you must define your reboot. It doesn't take any strength or willpower to stay away from your old job. The moment that you figured out what you want to do and you've gotten that thing, which is what we do at Porn Reboot, you will not need strength or willpower to go back to pornography. Where the effort is necessary is in figuring out what you really want and then naturally, and naturally is the key word, naturally moving in that direction. I've often said that the process of ending your behavior with pornography is simple, but it isn't easy. As I define it now, it sounds quite simple, doesn't it? Well, JK, oh man, you make it sound so simple, but it isn't easy. Here's the reason why it isn't easy. You, living in the West, by the West I mean the United States in particular, but you could also be in Canada or Australia. The reason why I say the West is because the West has a very particular approach towards addiction recovery. And that's a story for another day. I will put out a podcast on the history of this and why, when you go to different countries, other countries all around the world, you will rarely see large communities of addicts. Nowhere close to the number that you would see in the United States. You will not see addiction rehab centers all over the place. You will not see 12-step groups in the basement of every church. Addicts are all over the world, but nowhere close to the amounts that you see in the United States. And that is because of what I call it the religion of recovery. It is these beliefs about addiction that have kept you stuck when it comes to pornography. You have been made to believe that addiction is complicated, that your behavior with pornography is so complicated. You've also had a seed planted within you, in your belief system, that this is a lifelong problem. And that if you want to end this lifelong problem, that you are only free to do so if you use a very specific method. You cannot use any method that is not therapeutic. You cannot use any method that is not religious for some of you. You cannot use any method that is not defined as scientific. You cannot use any method that is not grounded in the 12-step programs. It's interesting that a large portion of men who choose not to work with Porn Reboot don't do so because they don't think our program works, but because for some strange reason, they insist that any program they work with must be rooted in biblical Christian principles, even though their behavior with pornography has absolutely nothing to do with being a Christian. Nothing. Absolutely nothing to do with it. It is just the feelings and the beliefs that they have about pornography. Don't get me wrong. There is a spiritual impact of not having sexual control on your life. But even though there is a spiritual impact of that, it is not as big a deal in reality as you think it is. It is a construct that you have created. And if men who were Christian knew this, they would be done with their behavior within a year. And they could keep on being happy Christians and focusing on the other powerful temptations that this world is going to throw in front of them, and the other things they could do. Society also does not have the patience to let you end your behavior in the simple way that I have defined it. No. If you are an addict, you must be forced or you must be coerced to change your behavior. You must be. You must go to a 12-step program. You must be pushed. You must be kept accountable. And this is the reason why you will find men do things like beat themselves up, not physically, but emotionally, when they slip or when they relapse. Where did that come from? Where did that, I must punish myself, I must self-flagellate if I cannot control my behavior? Where was that seed planted for you? Because it came from somewhere. Did you know that there are men out there who have an out-of-control behavior, who recognize that they have an out-of-control behavior, but never beat themselves up? They kind of sigh. They're, I did it again. Man, that sucks. I need to do better next time. And they become aware, and they try and do better next time. And they try, and they try, and they try. And one day, they're out of that behavior. And I'm not saying that those men are in the Porn Reboot system. Well, that's what you thought I was going to say. Those are regular men who end their out-of-control behavior naturally. All over the world, every day, this happens. I spoke about this in a podcast episode a few days ago. I believe that the title of the episode is You Will Quit on Your Own. I know, shocking, isn't it? You're like, what? I don't believe that. So there are people who don't beat themselves up, who are not filled with shame. No. You, the regular listener of this podcast episode, can relate to me because I am like you. I was conditioned by this quote-unquote recovery religion to act the way that I do. You did not do this to yourself, and I did not do this to me. We were raised in a society where these things were happening around us. We picked up on them unconsciously. Nobody told you directly. Some of you, someone did. And we ended up complicating this process. When I talk about rebooting, it is not random. Some people out there have actually started speaking against rebooting. They're like, oh, it's just a thing, it's just a word, it's just a fad. It is not. It is quite literally hitting the reset button on your life. That means examining all your beliefs that you have held and letting them all go and starting anew, starting fresh when it comes to your belief, new habits, new lifestyle, new self-image, without needing willpower, without shame, without self-flagellation and beating yourself up, without judgment, without anger. It is so beautiful. Just even talking about it, I'm like, I feel free talking about this program. I feel so free talking about it. It has become my life philosophy. And I have lived by it. And it has brought me so much. And it has brought thousands of men so much. I'm not trying to be religious about this. I'm not saying that it is the only way. I'm certainly not saying that about it. And I'm certainly not taking full responsibility for creating this system. I simply lived by it. And I encourage men to call it whatever the heck they want to call it. You don't need to call it rebooting if you're like one of those guys who doesn't want to feel like he's in a box or you don't want to feel like you're a follower. But take this system, learn this system formally, apply it to your life, gain the benefit of it, and be happy and move on and move forward with life. So, we've all been conditioned. We've also been told that it is a disease. You know what it means when somebody implies that something is a disease, or you may not even use the word disease. You're like, no, I don't believe it's a disease. But do you believe it is some sort of affliction? Do you believe it is some sort of addiction? I've often said that, yes, while I use the word addiction, I use the word addiction in a way that you can understand. I have to speak the language that you understand. And in the language that you understand, pornography is a process addiction, not a substance addiction, which means you are addicted to a certain process. You are addicted to, when it comes to a substance, let's just take a quick diversion so there's some clarity. When you are addicted to a substance, the substance is external to you. You have to take heroin in, you have to take alcohol in, and then it interfaces with your biochemistry. When it comes to pornography, everything is within you already. All you need is the image on the outside. That is what pornography is. Oh, I didn't slip to porn, I slipped to Instagram. No, you slipped to a visual image that stimulated you to sexual arousal. Therefore, you were exposed to pornography. But a process addiction differs from a substance abuse addiction because with a process addiction, all the chemicals are already inside you. There is a process to having those chemicals released. In our case, when we as men experience orgasm, women too, of course, we release our own version of opiates, which are the endogenous opiates within us, our endorphins. And dopamine is a precursor to the release of those endorphins. Dopamine lets us know that something is coming. It is anticipation. That is what it is released for. So you know the good thing is coming. You know you're going to get the hit. But of course, because you have been exposed to the religion of recovery, they do not tell you that when you orgasm, you are actually releasing an opiate. They only tell you that it is all about dopamine. Because yes, dopamine is a pathway which is being abused, and it can be abused much longer than the opiate within your brain that is released. If not, we'd be orgasming all the time. So of course, all that's left is to abuse the process of getting to dopamine. So we do things like edge, you watch different genres, you escalate to more taboo material, which brings up shame. You harness the shame because you realize, oh, when I hook my card up to this shame, then it seems like there is a little bit of a prolonging of the dopamine, and it seems that the opiate hit from the endorphin is higher, and it releases more shame with it. So now I've watched gay porn or transgender porn or something that's messed up, and it's released that. And so you become attached to a very unique process. Keyword is unique. It differs for each man. In the process of rebooting, you will learn what your unique process is. When you learn what your unique process is, you will be able to free yourself. You won't need JK, you won't need Dr. Eastman, you won't need Dr. Rankin, because you have discovered your process on your own. And every man's process is different. Some are similar to others, but it is going to be unique to you. When you are told that something is a disease and it is an addiction, then it is out of your hands. I am explaining what it is to you. And when you're within the program, we will explain this. We will not gatekeep this neurobiological information as if we are doctors or as if we are therapists and as if we are the experts. No, you are the best expert at yourself. We will show you what is going on because it's your body and your mind. And we will give you the tools that are necessary to free yourself. But that is not what the religion of recovery does. The religion of recovery says, this is a disease, this is an addiction. And therefore, you need a doctor. That's the implication. Therefore, you need to work with a therapist that is trained to do this. Interestingly enough, there are very few therapists out there who can actually treat people when it comes to their pornography, quote unquote, addiction. I'll say it again. There are very few therapists who can actually treat people. Everybody must end their behavior with pornography on their own. If you show up believing that a doctor, a therapist, or a psychotherapist is somehow going to fix it for you, and I know that's not what you're showing up thinking, but that is what you have at the back of your head. Like, when I work with this person is going to fix it for me. Then you are making a huge mistake. The interesting thing is, the doctor or the therapist believes that they can actually fix you. And this is where medication comes in. This is where all these crazy beliefs like, oh, you need to go to a rehab center. You need to do all these sorts of different therapeutic interventions. We need to find the root cause of your behavior. We need to find out what was the trauma. All this shit that you yourself cannot grasp. You have given your power away. And don't even let me get into the whole 12-step and being powerless over things. My brother, it is all bullshit. All of it is bullshit. Once in a while, I will get an email from a brother who says, JK, sometimes the things you say are so contradictory, but you have used the word addiction before. You have used all these terms, and I want to make it clear, and I will continue to repeat this, that if I was to have started this podcast talking about all these concepts, speaking about rebooting, and that slips are data, and that addiction does not exist, nobody would be listening to this podcast. Nobody would. You have to speak to people in terms that they will understand. In every major religion, whether is Christianity or Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, whoever was teaching at that time or guiding at that time had to use stories of the day and language of the day. And the language of the religion of recovery is the language of addiction. But anybody who is listening to this, you speak to any brother who is in the porn reboot system and who has been in the system for the last 13 years or over the last 13 years will tell you the program is not about addiction recovery. The program is not even about recovery. When we talk about recovery within the program, we're usually talking about physical recovery from physical exertion. Do not get caught up in that. Finally, and what we're talking about, just for context, is why rebooting is simple but not easy. It's all the different things that have complicated it. And then I will bring you home at the end of this episode, which is coming up shortly, on how you can quit as easily as you can quitting a job. The final thing is that the religion of recovery will imply that anything outside of abstinence is failure. Now, you may logically, rationally not agree with that, but that does not mean that you do not emotionally, subconsciously believe that. Because I work with men who are in the middle stage of their reboots who still fall victim to this. This is why we have principles such as progress over perfection and slips are data. Why? Because you have been conditioned to believe that if you view pornography even once, if you masturbate even once, then you have failed. But that is not true, because biologically speaking, over a period of time, masturbating once to medicate a strong emotion, or viewing pornography a handful of times, let's say over a year, you viewed pornography 4 times, that is not going to change the way your brain is wiring. It is not enough. Just as having 4 drinks a year or 7 drinks over a year period for somebody who had a problem with alcohol is not enough for him to actually relapse, quote unquote, and become an alcoholic again, so it is with pornography. But this is not something that you can simply accept intellectually, brother. You can't sit there and say, well, JK said that if I view pornography 4 times a year, then I'm good to go. Because that's not what's going to happen to you. You will likely end up binging. You will likely end up overindulging in it if you think that way. And that is because you are only accepting it intellectually. You are not actually having the experience of this. Not only must you understand this rationally, but you must also experience it. You must sit, and when you experience that strong urge, you must become aware using the tools. And by repeatedly becoming aware of what is happening, you see it yourself. You realize, oh my God, there was no reason to feel shame for this behavior. For years, I have been feeling only shame. And by joining this program, this is the first time ever that I sat down and I put pen to paper after a slip and relapse. And I came to realize that there were 2 things that was happening. One was the shame, the failure, the betrayal of myself that I felt. And on the other hand, there was the reality that I still did not have a porn blocker on my device. I still hadn't stayed accountable. And when I was supposed to quit work a little bit earlier, I pushed myself until I got stressed. And I have developed a habit of using pornography and masturbation to feel better about stress. They are those 2 things. And every time you slip or relapse, you have to choose. You can choose strong emotions. I am a failure. I messed up. Oh my God, the type of pornography I watched was horrible. Like, I will never be free of this behavior. You can choose that. Or you can choose to look at it and go like, what exactly happened here? Why would I do that again? Oh my goodness. I actually forgot. I have this habit of overwhelming myself with stimuli. When I am working and I should take a break from work, I have a tendency to take my break on my phone. And I find that I'm looking for some sort of release because I've been highly focused on work. But this bad habit of using my phone during my break often leads inevitably down the line to pornography. I totally forgot that I told myself that in the other meeting we had last week that I told myself I would actually take a walk, or I would not look at a screen during my break. I would end my day earlier. This is not shame. This is not beating yourself up. This is practical, rational, logical, understanding why something happened. And because you do understand it, you will now remove that thing from your life, or rearrange it, or reschedule it, or set a boundary, or get accountability if you find that you're too busy and overwhelmed and you keep forgetting about it. Those are the only choices that you have when it comes to this. Over time, you come to learn on your own. But if abstinence was the only barometer of success, do you see how the religion of recovery keeps you stuck in its cult? Well, you were an abstinent. You failed. It doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter whether you crossed the boundary. It doesn't matter whether you were angry or lonely or tired or hungry or had a fight with your wife or got triggered. None of that stuff matters. Or you were sick. Nothing matters. The only thing that matters is that you are not abstinent. Even if the system you are working with looks at all that different data, but it still starts off that process by freaking out about the fact that you relapsed and making it a big deal, you are still not going to free yourself. You are still within that religion. If you were to sit in any of our sessions and you hear a man tell me, or any of our coaches, that they slipped and relapsed, and you have always been a proponent of the religion of recovery, you would be shocked at the lack of reaction of anybody in our group, including other clients. Nobody particularly gives a shit about your slip or your relapse, but we give a lot of shits about what you did before it and what you learned after it. Oh, we are very, very attached to that. But as to, oh my God, the emotion, the shame, we don't give a fuck. We really don't care. We don't care. And we are not going to feed that. It's like a kid, you see a toddler fall down and the parents are, oh, baby, are you okay? The baby starts crying. Toddler falls down. You look at it, look at a kid. Kid gets up, dusts itself. You all right, buddy? Like, yeah, I'm good. And the kid keeps moving. The kid keeps moving because nobody fed that kid with their fears or their concerns. We are a community. That is what we are. We are a community that fosters a very specific way of thinking, a very specific system. That is the benefit of being in this community. You're not in a place where everyone is emoting. Oh, it's so hard. Yeah, me too. Whenever I catch that shit in any of our groups, I immediately remove it like a cancer. Some guy going like, yeah, bro, I feel that way too. It's just like the shame and get the fuck out of that. Oh, you made a mistake. You forgot that this is not a religion. This is not a place for you to sit down and have a pity party over your shared shame. Go do that elsewhere. Acknowledge that those feelings do exist so that the brother knows, so that you know that you are not alone. Like, yes, I have felt that too. We have all felt that too. You are not alone. Now, because we have all felt that too, here is proof that we are getting better. We're going to ask you some questions. And if you answer these questions, you will become like us. Those of us who are in the late stage, those of us who are in the maintenance stage, and those of us who are beyond that. But I digress. If you end your behavior using the religion of recovery, you will end up controlling, quote unquote, or quitting, or recovering, or being sober, whatever it's called out there, from a place of shame or from a place of fear. If you quit your behavior because you are afraid that you are going to go to hell and burn for all eternity, if you quit your behavior because you are afraid that you are not being a good Christian, if you quit your behavior because of all the shame that it brings you, because you are so scared of experiencing shame, then you will forever be shackled to this behavior. I'm not saying that you will slip or you will relapse. I am just saying that it doesn't matter how many years you stay away from this behavior, it will still have a hold on you because you are still afraid of experiencing a relapse and you still live in fear of experiencing that great shame. I have done a lot of things on my journey to freedom from this behavior. I have done a lot of shameful things. I've done a lot of things that if they came out on the news tomorrow, people would be shocked. I would not give a damn because I made sure, and I will always make sure for the brothers in our system, that we do not quit out of shame. We face our shame. There is no shame allowed. We face the most shameful things we have done. That does not mean you have to share it with me. You can take them to the grave, but you must face it on your own. If you have to put a chair in front of you and sit down and say everything, if you have to write a letter to yourself about every single thing you did and come to terms with it, then burn that motherfucker, then you will do that. You must quit from a place of happiness. Just as you do not quit your job out of shame or out of fear, you quit your job because you are headed to a better place. You're going to make more money. You're going to have more opportunity. You're going to have more time, more vacation hours, more freedom to spend with your family, to live, to experience life. You're going to work with better people. You're going to be able to move to a better place. Your overall happiness will improve. You're going to serve others. You're going to do something that has meaning. Just as you quit to move towards that job and career, so must you quit pornography. You must quit because you are moving towards a greater future. In the porn reboot exercise of defining your reboot, one of the questions we ask is, are you quitting your behavior, brother, to run away from pain or to move towards a greater future? And if you are ending your behavior in order to run away from pain, my brother, this process will not be simple, nor will it be easy for you. But if you are ending your behavior to move towards happiness, oh, the motivation you will have. Think of it. When you got a new job, you had everything lined up. You had all the benefits. You knew it was going to be better. Even that you had friends who were working that job and you saw them doing so well. You're checked out at your current job. You know that. I have over 30 team members at Elevated Recovery. And before that, I ran a large organization, in addition to other businesses I partner in right now. And in all of them, we can tell that when somebody is going to quit their job, they check out. It is very rare that somebody is fully engaged till the last day. That's what's going to happen with you, with your behavior with pornography. You mentally check out of whatever you think is the pleasure because you're so excited for your future. But how do you do this, JK? How do you do this? Well, that's what we teach within the Porn Reboot system. That is why the program exists. I will share the entire system for free. It's already shared for free on the podcast. It is complimentary on our YouTube channel. But to actually experience it, brother, there is only one way to do that. And that is to be in the community, around other people, seeing other people doing it, having a conversation with me weekly. This is how you do it. And eventually you get to what we call the maintenance stage, which has 3 simple prerequisites. To be in the maintenance stage of your reboot, first of all, you must have autonomy, which means that nobody is controlling you. Nobody is telling you that, oh, it's a disease, so you need a doctor or therapist. Nobody is forcing or coercing you. Nobody is telling you that, you know what, if you're not using a method that is Christian or based on biblical principles, then you're not going to be. No. You are autonomous as a human being. You can just, JK is not controlling you. The Reboot program is not controlling you. It is not a lifelong problem. It is not complicated. That is one prerequisite to being in the maintenance stage. The second one is happiness. If you are in the maintenance stage and you are not happy, brother, you are not in the maintenance stage. Life will have its ups and downs. Always. None of that will change. But the big difference is now you are able to navigate those negative situations with a smile on your face because you are no longer running to behavior that temporarily makes you happy and then in the long term makes you unhappy. You do not need that anymore. You think that when you face pain, that you need to run away from pain and you need to medicate it. This is another problem with the United States. In the United States, we are so pain averse. Oh, pain, get a painkiller. Pain is bad. Pain is part of life. We are supposed to feel pain. Again, I'll say it again. We are supposed to feel pain. We don't need to inflict pain on ourselves. We don't need to deal with chronic pain. That is where you might need an intervention if it's chronic pain. But you cannot escape pain. But when you deny your pain, when you always run to a quote-unquote painkiller, do you know what is on the other side of that? On the other side of that is suffering. Pain denied. When you deny it by taking a pill, when you deny it by using pornography, when you deny it by using alcohol, when you deny it by using sex, when you deny it by using social media, when you deny it by using movies, when you deny it by using food, you choose suffering. Suffering is you wishing that that pain was not there. It is you not wanting to become friends with that pain. When you accept pain and you see the true nature of pain, do you know what happens? The pain passes. And when I say the pain passes, I don't mean that it disappears. I mean it changes into something else. Its true nature. I want you to listen to this because this is something that only men, or rather mostly men, who are in the maintenance stage understand. So you will likely understand this intellectually, but I want you to experience it. And you will experience it, I promise you, when you enter the maintenance stage. See, when you stub your toe, for example, or you hit your shin somewhere, and you start freaking out. You're like, oh, fuck, oh my God, it hurts so much. I think I broke it, my foot. I think I busted I think my toe fell. I don't want to look at it. My toe probably got ripped off, blah, blah, blah. That is suffering. But when you sit for a moment and you pay attention, you realize, oh, it's a throbbing sensation. It feels as if like the toe is getting big and getting small. Oh, there's a pinching sensation. There's a stabbing sensation. The stabbing sensation is not pain. A throbbing sensation is not pain. Even a flowing sensation, it feels like there's something wet. It might be blood. It is not pain. It is the combination of all those sensations and the translation of the brain that calls it pain. And it is your attachment to the translation within your brain that leads to suffering. Your translation of it, and you're saying, I wish it did not happen. I wish this was not happening. I wish all these sensations would go away. How can you wish for the sensations to go away? How? They are there. They are real. They are actual physical sensations that are manifesting themselves within your brain. So you wish them to go away, and you wish so hard for them to go away, which means that you are denying reality. You are denying reality so hard that you will take a pill, you will take a substance, you will masturbate, you will view pornography to escape all sorts of mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, physical pain. But when you start looking at what the pain is individually, logically, rationally, just as you do with that strong sexual urge, you start to see that it is just data. What does this mean? The pain is still there, but because you see the data, it passes. When you refuse to see the data, you only suffer. And when you suffer, you cannot be happy. This may have gone over your head, but anybody who grasped this intellectually, anybody that it clicked for, brother, you come into the Porn Reboot system, we will take you all the way. This will become a part of you. And if you're smart enough, you will actually see how this principle of rebooting extends to so many areas of your life. You will see how it makes men extraordinary, and you will meet extraordinary men, and you will understand that they are extraordinary because of what rebooting has made them. The final prerequisite to being in the maintenance stage is free will. What is free will? Free will is you're free to do whatever the hell you want to do. You have complete freedom. You can choose. You realize that you have a choice to view pornography. You have a choice not to view pornography. You have a choice to edge. You have a choice not to edge. You have a choice to engage in certain types of sexual behavior in the privacy of your own home, and you have the choice not to. You are free. I cannot force you. Nobody can force you to do any of those things. You must realize that you have free will, and you must embrace it within yourself. And when you have those three things, when you have happiness because you understand how to work with pain and suffering, when you have autonomy, when you are governed by yourself alone, that is what it means. You are not governed by religion, by some addiction recovery coach, by some system, by a doctor or a therapist or a scientist. When you govern your own self and your own destiny, and finally, when you have free will, when you have the power to act without necessity, I don't need to quit. I can do whatever the heck I want to do. I am not constrained by fate. I am not constrained by anything. I am absolutely free. Then you are in the maintenance stage. God, what a powerful place to be. What a powerful place to be. Those of you who are religious, this is where we were meant to be. We were meant to self-govern. We were meant to be happy. And we were meant to exercise our free will. That's what I got for you today, brother. I hope you found it helpful. And I hope that this has given you a deeper understanding of what we do here at Porn Reboot. I'd also like to remind you, brother, that this year is my last year, 2025, of working with men directly. I will still keep some one-on-one clients. Elevated recovery is still going to be around, but I'm going to be expanding this into more of a movement. I'm going to make sure that more people know about what is happening. And in order for me to do that, I'm going to have to step away from doing a lot of the one-on-one and group work that I typically have done. So what does this mean? This means that we still have wonderful coaches who are trained in the system, coaches who have rebooted in the system. To be honest with you, many of the coaches are far better teachers and instructors than I am. But that means that for the next couple of months, you have the opportunity to work directly with me in the intensive program or when there are spots available one-on-one. And what is going to happen when you work with me this year is one of two things. You will either enter the late or the maintenance stage, or you will have a clear definition of your reboot. Now, realistically speaking, there are very few spots left to work with me. So even if you put in an application, there is no guarantee that you will be able to work with me. We actually closed off applications to the intensive program, but in the last couple of months, we have had brothers enter the maintenance stage and move on from the program. So there is capacity for that. We're just very picky about who we choose to work with. That is my assurance to you, what you will get if you work with us this year. But I have one more assurance for you. If by the end of the year, you enter any of our programs, and by any of our programs, I specifically mean the implementation program, or less likely for you to enter the intensive program. If by the end of the year, you have not defined your reboot, or you are not in the late or maintenance stage of your reboot, then we will work with you until you have entered the late or the maintenance stage, or until you have defined your reboot at no cost. So when we have what is called your legacy call, and you're like, dude, I joined the program. This is what you said. There is a recording of it. It's also going to be in the agreement that you signed to be a part of this program. And look, my behavior has not changed. I'm not in the late stage, and I definitely don't know what the heck the definition of my reboot is. Then we will work with you. I don't care if we're going to work with you for 2 years, 3 years. It's not going to be necessary to stay that long. But that is my assurance to you. We will work with you at no cost until you are free. I cannot emphasize how deeply I believe in this. I have full faith in the ability of our program to get you there. But please do not put in an application because you want free help. Put in an application because you too believe in yourself, and you believe that this is the program that can get you where you need to get to. Be willing to put in the work for the next couple of months, and we will do our best to get you there. And if we cannot, I promise you one thing. On the first call you get on, when we are having a conversation, when you're speaking to the coaches, if we believe we cannot help you, we will tell you that. It is not about money. We're not trying to sell coaching or rebooting or any of those things. We are trying to build a community of men who are freeing themselves from this behavior. So if you've been thinking of being a part of this program, think a little bit more and then go to the description below this video. Take your time with the application, fill it out. It is discreet, it is private, it is only viewed by myself or a certified reboot coach. Nobody else has access to it. If you don't want to use your real name, that's absolutely fine. But at least put a phone number and email address that is real, where we can reach out to you and let you know if you got accepted into the program. As always, I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this episode of the Porn Reboot podcast. I'll speak to you later on in the week.
I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Porn Reboot podcast. I'll speak to you later on in the week. If you found this episode helpful, here are 4 ways I can help you with your out-of-control sexual behavior for free. The first way is to grab a free copy of my book, Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men at elevatedrecovery.org, or visit the link in the description below this episode. The second way is, if you're not sure where to start, but you'd like to learn more about my team and I, if you'd like to spend time with like-minded professionals and business owners who are controlling their behavior, then join our free and confidential group, the Porn Reboot group on Facebook. There's a link to join in the description below this episode. The third way is if you need help right now because you have a burning issue, Your behavior with pornography is hurting you mentally or emotionally. You're about to lose your relationship. You want to live up to your potential, be an authentic man, and free yourself from shame, guilt, and underachieving? Then click on the link in the description below this episode that says free coaching call. And the fourth way is to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy this podcast, so that we can reach more men who are struggling in silence and bring back the lessons we learn from coaching them to freedom.